And teen sensation Luke Littler is tipped to earn millions of pounds in sponsorship after his barnstorming performance at the World Darts Championship, in which he reached the final earlier this week. It was a great performance. But does his success prove that 16-year-olds have more to offer than we give them credit for? Does it show that 16-year-olds should have the vote, potentially leave school before doing their A-levels, or even enter the military? Let's get the views of fearless social commentator and the legendary actor and former Corrie star, Charlie Lawson. Charlie, great to have you on the show. Happy New Year, big man. This young man's success is a wake-up call, isn't it, for any 16-year-olds sitting at home playing computer games?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, well, I hate to bloody bring Arsehole's name up, but I mean, Tony Blair went education, education, education. And, you know, what we've kind of lost with that is apprenticeships, etc., etc. We're now beginning to wise up and say to ourselves, you know, not everybody needs to go to university. And I hasten to add, why in the name of Jesus do we have to have police officers who've got degrees? But the point being is, if you're 16 and you have a talent and you have a good family and you have perhaps a good agent or whatever, if you have a talent like this young man has, then you have to follow it, and you have to follow it when you've got to seize the day, because, you know, don't leave it till he's 18, because he probably wouldn't, you know, have got 3 A-levels or whatever, and he probably wouldn't have wanted to. The boy has done wonders. He's come on. He's been beaten in the final. He seems like a thoroughly decent young fella. I don't give a monkeys whether he likes doner kebabs. He's got a career in darts, and he should pursue that. Now, I'm not suggesting we suddenly change education, that you can leave school, blah, blah. But I do think, Mark, we should bring back the way things were, that sort of 16, if you've got an apprenticeship to go to, you've done your O-levels or whatever, then go. Because quite frankly, we need tradespeople. Yeah. You know, if you live in your own home, as I do, for God's sake, it's hard enough to find a handyman, never mind a plumber, a plasterer, or anything else. So we need these skills. They're highly paid, skilled jobs. So listen, I digress slightly, but I wish him all the very best. And I know in my big sport, which is my thing, which is horse racing, I know the young people who join the horse racing industry as grooms, you're not allowed to say, well, I still say it, stable lads and stable lasses, and I will continue to say it because that's what they are. But, you know, they have a great career. They work extremely hard, all the hours God send, and they love it. They're dedicated people. If you ever go to the races and get a chance to meet a young apprentice or a young stable girl or a young stable boy, they are great, great people. So I would encourage anybody and their parents that if you feel that it's right, that you can go out into the world and start making a living and contributing and all the rest of it, then seize that nettle, because if you don't, it'll pass you by.
Indeed so. Obviously, you know, you're off Tony Blair's Christmas card list. Describing him as an arsehole is harsh language, but hey, you're entitled to your view, Charlie. Listen, for this lad to reach the final of the World Darts Championships is truly incredible, isn't it? Do you think we wrap our youngsters in cotton wool these days and do too much for them?
Mark, you know my answer to that. And apropos something that your lovely producer had spoken to me about before, about recruitment for the Royal Navy, etc., and indeed the whole of the British Armed Forces. Yeah. As we know, over the last 10 years, we have raised a risk-averse bunch of young people. And before anybody wags their finger at me, I lived with, God rest her soul, my Leslie, who's dead now, who had black depression and huge mental health issues. But now it seems to me that children and young people are being encouraged to have mental health problems. Not encouraged, but you know, we're raising a different sort of young person than we used to do, and I fear I fear that that's half the problem about what we're going to talk to before about recruitment to the armed forces. I'm not denying, and don't let anybody ever say I am, about mental health issues, but don't be encouraging people at the age of 14 to discuss the fact that they think they've got mental health problems. We never did it in my day or your day. I think we're raising a different bunch of young human beings, and that's obviously highly controversial. And I don't mean to be. That's just my opinion. Kids aren't as tough as they used to be, with notable exceptions. Notable exceptions. But I despair sometimes when I talk to very young people, and I've got two grandchildren, so don't let anyone phone up and say I'm talking crap, because I'm not. So I think your point is well made, Mark. I think we are raising a very, very different generation of young people, and I fear for the worst. And I'm not surprised that the Royal Navy are short of recruits, and the British Army are short of recruits, and the Royal Air Force are short of recruits, because they can't find the right people. And as your great friend Norman Brennan says, we need to be recruiting the right people for the right jobs. Now, I've digressed, Mark. I apologise.
Well, no, you raised a very important issue about this recruitment crisis in the military. We now have insufficient numbers of sailors to man several frigates, including 2 warships, HMS Albion and HMS Bulwark, which will be mothballed in a move that critics have said could spell the beginning of the end for the Royal Marines. This is about cold, hard cash, isn't it? We've got to recruit more talent into the military. The world is getting more dangerous, Charlie.
It's an absolute bloody disgrace. And I've been wanting to say this on your show, Mark, for a long time.
Yeah.
The finest career young people could ever have are in our armed forces, which are just about hanging on to the best in the world. Although we couldn't even fill Wembley Stadium with the British Army. Do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. We should be investing billions and billions every year. Never mind the NHS, which is falling on its arse as we speak. We should be, and that's nothing to do with the staff, I hasten to add. It's to do with woke nonsense. But we should be investing in our young people, not only financially, but we should be recruitment drive. There should be a huge recruitment drive for the British Armed Forces. We still, despite the lowering numbers and organically, you would expect the Conservative government to increase the budget by 10 billion every year, but they don't, because they're scared to. Listen, you know what? HMS Queen Elizabeth, an aircraft carrier, has now got its capacity to take off for action. I think it's 32 fighters. We are now able to put 8 on board. 8 of the damn things, and they're 5th generation fighters. Now, if this head the ball down in Argentina, if this arsehole decides to invade the Falklands, God knows what are we going to. How are we going to get down there and do what we did in 82?
Well, I think what I would do, Charlie, I think I'd send you to the Falklands to sort him out. Listen, thank you for, once again, a display of common sense and reason. Always a treat to have you on the show. Happy New Year, big man, and we'll catch you soon. The remarkable Coronation Street actor, acting legend and fearless political commentator, Charlie Lawson.